I guess when I say good morning this time, it's actually the morning time. So hello. I'm sorry this video is coming to you delayed. And I'm pretty sure the YouTube algorithm is not going to appreciate it, but I was just not going to record a video at like 1 o'clock in the morning. It just was not going to be a thing that occurred. So here I come to you, freshly laundered, a clean little Monty. And I did read a book yesterday. What I did listen to was Spiral by Bal Cabra. Apologies if I have mispronounced. Today is a day for two things. One, I need to grocery shop. There's a couple of things I need to pick up. And I want to get caught up on my NetGalley. Not my Net. Well, yes, that. But in getting caught up on NetGalley, I'll get caught up on my Goodreads currently reading shelf because I think there are 30 some odd books there. There are 30 some odd books there that I need to, and most of those are Michael Connelly, and I don't really review Michael Connelly books in depth on Goodreads just because, like, that's not how I was engaging with those books. I mean, I was to a certain degree, but like that's not really how I was engaging with those books. Like if it was Michael Connelly, I was reading it and I was probably going to enjoy it up until we got to Nightshade, as we saw me talk about that. But when I get caught up on my currently reading shelf, I will get caught up on my NetGalley, and so my feedback ratio, it's not really pitiful. I want to say it's hovering around like 69%, and probably dipped now just because, you know, I sent those few things to my Kindle. Let's talk about Spiral by Bal Cabra, because this was actually another fun little time. This is a story of a ballerina named Sage who is real down on her luck. I say she's a ballerina, but she is really more of a hustler. Now, all of her hustles are dance related. She is not somebody who is like feeding other jobs and not her passion. She is still working in the field that she wants to work in, but she is not attached to any company. She is doing all of these small little gigs here and there, and she teaches at one of, I think it's actually her former like childhood studio. So like she is still in the world of dance, and she is still actively striving for being part of a ballet company, and like, you know, doing things and like a traveling production of like a sense of things in her career path. But she is not necessarily at the pinnacle of her game. Enter her little boyfriend in this, whose name is now eluding me, Elias. So Elias is, you would think he's at the pinnacle of his game. He's a rookie in the NHL. He had just been drafted. He has been working with the Toronto Thunder, which I don't necessarily love that name. All of these like fake NHL names. I mean, it's something that the real NHL has like really good names. Like, it's not even that, but just like Toronto Thunder, like no thank you. Anyway, also I think it was so dirty for in this fake hockey universe for Tampa to be an ass team. That was crazy. That was crazy work. Anyway, and it's not even like I'm a Tampa fan, but like damn, they can't even have their hockey. Like they have a good hockey team down there. Anyway, anyway, their paths cross because Sage's uncle and the only stable adult in her life is the general manager for the Toronto Thunder. And so at some event, I think it's like a charity auction type situation where they're like auctioning off some of the players to go on dates and other various things. One of the dancers for the performance backed out. So he's like, my niece is a dancer. I'm going to get her in here. And so he does the good nepo thing, and he gets his niece in there. And so when she is there, Elias's homeboy, Aiden, I want to say, is like, hey, I need you to bid on my bestie because he has a crazy stalker and she's gonna bid on him. So I need you to outbid her. Like, I need to do my best friendly duties and save him from the stalker lady. And so she's like, this is weird, but okay. And so she reluctantly agrees because she did overhear the weird stalker lady and Elias talking. And so she does understand that she is a crazy stalker. And so she's like, I'll help you out. Like, sure, why not? And thus begins it's not even a series of crazy events. They go on that charity date, and she's like, this was a fun little charity hangout. Thank you. And so then at the end of the night, he gives her his number, except when she calls him, it's his manager who answers. And she's like, I know this man did not just give me his manager's number. Like, this is actually crazy. And so she shows up at the facility and is like, why the fuck would you ever think to do that? And he's like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Like, that was not what I was trying to do here. And then they go on and they start this like fake dating relationship. Now, the fake dating relationship does unfold, and I would say a pretty unique way, in that she proposes it, I want to say, on that charity date. And he's like, yeah, that's not going to work. Like, nobody would ever believe that. And then he is getting hounded in a press conference a couple days later. And he's like, you know what? I have a girlfriend. I need you to respect my privacy at this time. Like, thank you. No further questions. And so then she's like, oh, so you think it will work? Oh, you think my idea was actually a good one? Interesting. Because a couple days ago you did not. And so he interrupts her on a date, and we get to have this like possessive scene, and she's like, this is a fun little silly game you're playing here, but like you don't get to be this way. And I really did ultimately come to enjoy the relationship as the book progressed. I do think there was a couple silly things in this book. I think it was a little bit silly that she like burned down her apartment. She didn't burn it down, but she significantly caused fire damage to her apartment that forced her to move into his apartment because she is so down on her luck and scrappy, and whatever free money she does have, she has to sit, and she doesn't have to, but she is like the guardian for her little brother who was at this expensive ass boarding school. And there were a couple of things I didn't like. I really didn't like that her parents were like being investigated by the Canadian FBI, whatever they call it over there, or like the Canadian CIA or the Canadian like drug people for absconding with a random shipment of a random gross of street drugs. I thought that was a bit silly, leaving her high and dry, but she had like really bad parents, and like I guess that's what happened. They just like skipped town to go run a drug cartel. Like that was, I didn't fully understand what was happening there. And then you had Elias, who was, seemingly the golden boy, except we find out that he was adopted and he was like 4 years old, and his biological dad was extorting him for money. And so I was like, this is a little bit unserious for the character background, but like, okay. I mean, I guess to be fair to Elias, his dad blackmailing him did become a significant part of the story. In that like we had to see him do this, and she's like, you should really stop paying that man. Like, I feel like you've probably given that man enough money, so you should probably figure out like what is a good lump sum and just give it to him. And so eventually he does do that. And then there's this scene in this book that was also deeply unserious, where this man is now upset that he is no longer getting free money from his son that was adopted. And so he goes on like the equivalent of a sports center it wasn't even sports. It was really he was going on like fucking TMZ, like he was Mr. Mary Markle, her bum ass dad. Except like he had like a heart attack or collapsed or passed out from a drunken stupor on national television, and they were like, yeah, well, he's not gonna be an issue anymore. And I was like, why was he ever an issue? Like after we saw the scene where Elias showed up in person and paid him off and was like, yeah, this is the last check you're ever gonna get from me, so make it last. Like, it should be more than enough. Yeah, all of that I think was a little bit unserious, and I did not need the scene with him on TMZ Sports Center passing out, having a heart attack, whatever, collapsing. Didn't need any of that. But overall, like I said, the relationship that we got to see between Sage and Elias play out was probably, it was fun. Like, it was a fun time. It made me, and I needed a fun time yesterday because of where the things that were unfolding around me was too deeply unserious for Monty. Yeah, no, too deeply unserious for me. I'm sorry. But because of all of that, I needed something that was like a little bit fun, light, and airy. And not since I would say Lara Jean and Peter Kavinsky was I really as invested in two people pretending to be together, actually falling in love and getting together. There was also a scene in this one that made me think of Mate, in that this also had a main character who was celibate for, I guess, a decent-ish reason. Part of the blackmail involved his dad hiring a girl to like plant drugs on him and like take pictures and make it look like he was using drugs when he was out celebrating his like high school, or not high school, I think it was probably like a college victory, or like it was World Juniors, that's what it was. And so he was like drunk and like he had been partying and he hadn't been doing drugs, but it was again weird and convoluted, but that was part of why. And so he's like, yeah, I'm just not hooking up with people anymore. And this just made a lot more sense than in fucking Mate. And even when he stopped being celibate, it made a lot more sense than in fucking Mate. And so I was like, I didn't realize that Celibacy Kink was like the 2025 buzz year, but that's what it was this year. We started with Spiral and ended with Mate, and I think the Spiral was the superior book. Now, it's not that also there was a little bit of a plot outside of the fake dating. Elias was worried that he was going to be sent packing because he had been drafted pretty high up in the league and pulled out of NCAA because he was like the best scorer in the NCAA. He was God's gift to hockey. And then you get to the NHL and he is not scoring at all. He is going all season. He ain't got no scores on the board. And so he does end he ends the book with going on a little bit of a hot streak and just like racking up them points. But at the beginning, he was just like, yeah, I've not got a goal all season. And so part of his working through the story is getting over the block that is stopping him from scoring. And then you have Sage, who is working to do the lead in Swan Lake at this production that she is, I don't say she's obsessed with, but she is really trying to get into. And so we see both of them working towards that. And part of the fake dating is like not her trying to get, but like, because they're now going to be linked and there's a lot of media attention around him, she'll get more social media followers, which is what the people at the ballet say that they need to even like consider you to come in. And so she's not even actively doing that. She's still pretty much living her life the same way that she was, but because she's living her life the same way that she was and she is with Elias, more people are paying attention to her. So she's getting what she wanted out of it, and he is overcoming the mental block that was keeping him from scoring, and he's getting out what he wanted. He's getting what he wanted out of it, and overall, it comes together to form what I would say is a pretty enjoyable read. We're not, it's nothing, super special or super brand new. I just think that it was really solid storytelling, and like I was saying, I guess it was 2 weeks ago at this point, all of the books that I've really enjoyed have gotten to the point pretty quickly. Within the first, not even 5%, I would say, we were already at the charity auction. We were already getting to see Elias and Sage interact with one another. We were seeing the seeds of their interpersonal relationship at work. We were seeing how they were going to banter and go back and forth with one another, so that by the time that they were actually in a relationship, and they were actually not even actually in a relationship, but doing the part of the fake dating thing where they're like, oh, this can't be real, we can't do this, like we're getting to that part of it, it was working. And also we were doing a thing where this is a dual perspective romance, and both perspectives I think are needed. Elias's entire personality wasn't, oh, I am big and tall and muscular and I just want to dick her down. Like, that's not what we were getting. Like, I was pleasantly surprised at how well this book was written, how solidly we got from point A to point B, and how enjoyable that ride from A to B was. Like, there's not, I don't know. I don't really know how to say it. Like, it sounds so bad. Like, oh yeah, like this is a perfectly serviceable book. But no, like I really had a good time. I had a good time. I was kind of savoring the last hour of the audiobook. I think it overstayed its welcome just a little bit. He's breaking his vow of celibacy, and she is attained her goals, and he has attained his goals. And there's still like 2 hours of audio. Not 2 hours. Was it 2 hours of audio? It might have been 2 hours of audiobook. Might have been 2 hours. I was listening, at 3 times speed because that's just what I listened at. And there was a big chunk left, and I was like, where are we going to go after this? And it does make you worried because there is an ex of hers that comes back into the picture, and he is also on the team. But there isn't, I don't really feel like there's an unnecessary third act breakup. There is a point in the book in the third act where I think it's not even that they're not together. I don't even know. Like, again, like it was really solid. It didn't feel like we were just like, okay. But at the same time, I was like, okay, well, we have achieved everything that we needed to achieve. So, like, what more are we going to do here? And overall, I think that the last 2 hours, it still worked. And by the time I was, reading it and I was engaging with the text, I was like, okay, yeah, I guess we can do all of this. But maybe, I don't know, because I wouldn't want to wait. I wouldn't want to wait and like push some of that stuff back, but I was just like, okay. I will say that the most unserious part of the book might be the epilogue, and I already have a love-hate relationship with epilogues in romance novels, just because, like, on the one hand, they all do sort of like the same thing. They either flash forward to a wedding, a baby, or just a scene that I don't necessarily need, and this does both in a really weird way. This book, they're both in their like mid 20s feels very generous, but this epilogue, they could not be any more than like 28, and we find out that at some point, relatively shortly after the events of the book end, they adopt an 8-year-old together. That was actually crazy. Like, I'm sorry, like from going from fake dating where and you read the fake dating books and you know that they're really dating and like they really have these feelings and they really do have a connection and everything is really working out for them. But like you went from that to adopting an 8-year-old together with a quickness. They adopted an 8-year-old, and you have on top of the fact, Sage was already like Loki raising her brother, who was at most a freshman, because the epilogue is also him graduating and deciding that he is going to attend a lot. Well, not deciding he's going to. He already decided that over the course of the book because we already saw her brother and her new friend circle interacting, and so we already had this knowledge he was going to go to Elias's old college, but it's like, so he's going there on an athletic scholarship. He's also getting the house that Aiden's rich father left him because Aiden's daddy is like an NHL superstar. And so he had like the team hockey house, and that has been passed down now to Sage's little brother. And this is like a big deal because again, like her parents ran off and skipped town, and so they didn't have like a stable living condition there for like a 30-second period of time. And she was always paying robbing Peter to pay Paul to make sure that her brother got his diabetes medication and whatever else he had going on. And so now he's gonna have like a home, and he's like a scholarship, and he's gonna be doing his little hockey thing. So that was part of the thing. And then again, they got married. So we got like a snippet of the wedding, and we got a snippet of them and their 11-year-old daughter that's running around. And I said, this is absolutely crazy that you guys have an 11-year-old. It was giving Millie Bobby Brown. Like when Millie Bobby Brown and her little husband popped up on the scene talking about we just adopted a baby, and it's like, what do you mean you guys did? And I was like, that's a whole baby. And it wasn't even like, oh, they became this little girl like showed up at the dance studio and was like, can I sleep here tonight? And she's like 8 years old, and she's like, no, thank you. And so then she's like, yeah, we just like went through the process and we adopted this little 8-year-old girl, and she's been ours, and now she's 11. And I was just like, you guys have been dating for 30 seconds. At least Millie and Mr. Bon Jovi, at least they're like married and they've been dating for a little bit longer. But absolutely crazy to me. That was the craziest part of the epilogue. But otherwise, like I said, it was a really solid, fun time. I really enjoyed it. I will say that Elias having 2 piercings on his penis was not something I expected going into this book. Was not something I expected going into this book. But you know what? Good for him. Good for him. And I think that having those piercings as part of a dare is a little bit unserious. And I understand that they needed it to be part of a dare because this is not the man that would just like walk into a tattoo studio and was like, hey, can you pierce me? But you know what? It was really fun. And I really love that for him. And I love that for her. And aside from the fact that they now have, I guess, 2 children because she's been raising her brother and they have an actual daughter. I'm happy for them. I'm really happy for these little fictional characters. So do I recommend this? I do. Am I going to go back and read the first book in this little series? I don't know. There's also like another book in this series, and I don't know about that one either, because those are both set at a college. And there was a period of my time where I really wanted some college romance, but I realized that this was not a college. Like, they were college age, and the college characters were sort of in their orbit because Elias and Aiden live together, and their friends are back at Dalton University, and they're still living in their, like, Dalton days or whatever. But I like that we weren't actually there. I didn't have to worry about people, talking about going to class or taking tests or none of that stuff. And it's not that I don't like books that have that, because I'm pretty sure I could scroll through my 2025 reading and find one that did have all that stuff, and it was a fun time. But I like this wasn't that. I like these people in their little careers going after their little dreams and hopes and aspirations and making it work, and not talking about, parties and sticky bar floors. Like, none of that. It was a fun little time. So those are my thoughts on Spiral. I will be back. I've been here for 30 minutes. That's crazy. But I'll be back again tonight. Like I said, I don't know what I'm going to read today because my goal is sort of more administerial today than the reading. But I might try and find something a little bit light and fun to have on in the background while I'm perusing the grocery aisles. And I will be back after watching tonight's game against the Seahawks and the Rams to talk about whatever bookish thing I get up to. So stay safe, stay hydrated, and until it's night, bye, besties.